This is about tone centers or chord notes. Tone centers and chord notes are the same thing. Before I get into that, I want to attach something to that last video just to be clear on something. So before, when we counted intervals and I used an F root, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I want to be clear that, if we call F the root, the F notes on every single string are also the root at the same time. Okay? Also, when you count intervals from a different root other than F, you do it exactly the same way. Just want to make sure that's clear. So if I choose a G root, and theoretically every G note on my guitar would automatically become the root, I would count, I'll do the natural intervals, I would count them the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and the intervals continue up until I run out of frets. So if that's 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can get all the way up to 5. If I come down to my original G here, so remember that's 1 or 8, I can also count backwards. So 8, 7, I can get all the way down to 6. So to be clear, the intervals, wherever your root is, the intervals run all the way up and all the way down the length of that string, and also that same root note on other strings is automatically the root. Okay, so back to tone centers. So what I'm calling a tone center is the same thing as saying the notes out of a scale that make up the chord. But we're going to be talking about these in terms of intervals. And we're going to do it with the same 3 scales that I illustrated before, the major, the minor, and the dominant. You may want to get a notepad out so you can jot some of this stuff down if you're not familiar with it. So the definition of a tone center, or the notes that make up the chord, the basic chord, is that it's the odd numbered intervals of a scale. It's very simple. So from the major scale, we would have 1, 3, 5, and 7. From the dominant scale, we would have 1, 3, 5, and flat 7. From the minor scale, we would have 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. So when you play chords, even basic chords, you have a choice between playing a triad or a 7th chord. Both are done all the time. So you want to make sure you understand the differences between the interval structure or the formula. And it's very simple. The triad is just the first 3 intervals out of the 4 that I mentioned for each one of those. So a major triad, 1, 3, and 5. Dominant triad, 1, 3, and 5. Minor triad, 1, flat 3, and 5. 7th chords are called 7th chords because they contain the 7th interval of the scale in the chord. So a major 7th chord, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Dominant 7th chord, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Minor 7th chord, 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. So the names of the dominant 7s and minor 7s can be a little confusing if you're not used to it. Even though the term dominant 7 and minor 7 is used and written, they both contain flat 7s. So you want to make sure you're aware of that ahead of time. Okay, that's important. So the next thing I'm going to do is show you a page out of the book. And it's showing you a full neck diagram with G illustrated as the root note. So every chord, every scale rather, that's covered throughout the book uses a full neck diagram when you get back to the chord section related to the scale. It's done exactly the same way. So what I've done is shaded the 1, 3, 5, and 7 intervals out of the scale in the diagram. Makes it very, very simple to quickly, visually look at that and see where the notes are for either a G major or a G major 7th chord. You can just look at this diagram and find many, many, many ways. And in the book, I've got examples on other pages of what I'm talking about here. I'm just not going to show it right now. So that's how it's illustrated throughout the book. Over here, I will show you this if you can read it. Just gives you some different ideas for looking for those intervals. So you can pause on that and take a look at it. Okay, that's the basic idea. And the last thing I want to do in this particular video is show you an exercise, a chord exercise, to get you used or prepared for what we're going to be doing in the next section, which is coming up to key signatures. we're going to do a 7th chord exercise. Some of you may know these voicings already, some of you may not. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So the more of these you know, the better, but right now I'm happy with one. I'm going to go down here to a G root, and I'm going to play a G major 7th chord this particular way. Okay, so what I'm playing is, interval-wise, it doesn't go in order. This is the first interval, or the root. This is the 7, this is the 3, and this is the 5. So when I pick through this, 1, 7, 3, 5. So that's G major 7. When I have 4 intervals grouped together that I'm thinking about, I like to think about it like a date. So this particular voicing, 1735, moving in this direction. So 1, 7, 3, 5. All right, so question. What's the difference between a major 7th chord and a dominant 7th chord in terms of intervals? The dominant 7 has a flatted 7. So I'm going to take this 7 and I'm going to flat it, go down a half step. Moving this finger down, not very comfortable. So I'm going to re-finger it like this. But all that happened is that I flatted the 7th. So G major 7, I'm going to flat the 7 into G dominant 7. So now what's the difference between a dominant 7 and a minor 7? Well, a minor 7 has a flatted 3rd. Here's the 3rd. I'm going to flat it. Now they all end up being on the same fret, so I'm going to finger it like this. So I've got my 2nd finger on the root and my 3rd finger barred across these 3. That's G minor 7. There's another form of chord you're going to need for the key, which is a minor 7 flatted 5. So how would you play G minor 7 flat 5? Well, I'd simply flat the 5. Okay? The fingering is this. So here's what I did. G major 7, I flatted the 7 of it, and I changed it to G dominant 7. I'm going to flat the 3 of the dominant 7, and I get G minor 7. I'm going to flat the 5 of the minor 7, and I get G minor 7 flat 5. Now, if I flat the root, now I'm going to re-finger that, I'm back to the major 7 fingering shape, but I'm a half step lower than where I started. So what we've done is flat each note one at a time to get these various chords. Now I'm back to a major 7th chord a half step below, so this would be an F sharp major 7 or G flat major 7. I'm going to flat the 7, so it's F sharp dominant 7. I'm going to flat the 3, so doing this in the same order. That's F sharp minor 7. I'm going to flat the 5. That's F sharp minor 7 flat 5, and I'm going to flat the root again. And I've got F major 7. Now the higher up you start this, obviously the more room you're going to get for practice. So I'm going to start up on D. Now when you go through and do these, you should probably go slowly and name them, but I'm just going to kind of play through them. Down on a B root. Just going down the neck once doing that will get you very familiar with these chords if you're not used to playing them. Okay, so that's it for this one. I'll see you on the next.